Josh Bradley, Landmark Implement Minden. Going to do combine settings adjustments on Class 6 and Class 7 combines. We'll start here with concaves. These here are currently your round bars meant for bean acorns. They do make an insert for them to go in. If you got roughly maybe 100 acres or so of wheat, or even milo, just a few short acres of that, you can run them in there and you can thrash with. They'll thrash just as good with wheat and milo is not quite as good as small grain. If you do have over 300 acres of wheat, we recommend replacing these with small grain concaves. As for Milo, you're going to run a lot of Milo, probably 300 or more. You're probably better on a set of large wires. Again, those are the best for those crops. Small grain concaves, we don't have a set with us here today, but they do offer a filler plate to run across them. Again, that'll help with a little bit better thrashing area, clean that grain a little better. With large wire, you can get the same cover plates as you do with small grain concaves. Again, we'll talk a little bit about leveling this up here. So what I do is I'll come here, I'll run this concave all the way up, and there's an end point on these on this worm gear that usually it'll hit right here when this is all the way up. That's where I like to run them up to and adjust. Then I'll come back over here. Well, I guess while we're here, we'll take out a piece here and we'll flip it in neutral so we can roll that rotor. Come back over here, we'll loosen up our stops, we'll loosen up our jam nuts on each rod here, and we'll start in the front, and we'll spin the concave, or spin the rotor, and we will adjust that up till it ticks. Once that ticks, we'll back it off about a turn, and I like to set my stop down because otherwise, without that stop there, it'll move the whole concave again. So we want that in proportion with this. With your rotor here. So like I said, jam that down, come over here, let's tighten this one up now. Again, spin the rotor, come and tighten it. Once it ticks, we'll back it off a hair, we'll set this one. Come back here and we'll do it again and make sure this one's sitting up level and you should be in good shape. So you can see here, you've got this a plate in here you can slide out. There's 4 bolts in here. If you're overloading your left side out of your concave area here, your thrashing area, and you're getting a bunch of grain carrying over to this side, you can even that load out with this pan here and get it more centered, some of it centered, divided up between these 2 augers here. Same goes for the right side, same exact setup on the right side. Most of them you'll find will probably have these already pulled out on both sides. But in case you are getting that and they are not done and you're overloading one side, this is a spot to check to make sure that that these are up and we can disperse that grain right back into the middle and kind of even that load. This one here does not have a side hill kit in it. That would bolt on in these holes here, and you would bolt on into this. So this combine, if you had hills, would have to have a side hill kit put in it to disperse that grain evenly across that chute. So you got your spacers here. These are set up for corn and beans. What that does is with these spacers in here, it'll allow for your corn cob to kind of flow through easily and not break up as easy. Before you could get a corn cob in here and wedged in here and break that cob up. Now we're allowing a more free flow through here to allow that cob to bypass and to not drop down and obviously hopefully not end up in our grain tank. For wheat, we recommend taking these bushings out and setting them on top, cinching all these back up, close that up, and then with that you can put separator grate covers in here, especially if you're starting to get a lot more straw coming off of your rotor. Seal that up a little bit, carry that straw on through the machine so we don't. So we're just separating what we need to separate instead of trying to separate through a bunch of straw. That's unnecessary straw coming down through. Here is your separator loss monitor. This here, we'll read in the cab. You have two different ones. You've got a shoe loss and a separator loss. If you're getting a little more loss on the separator, it's good to do a power shutdown, come back here and see what's going on. You should be able to tell what's going on with the grain laying on the pan up here. But this is your separator grain loss. Here we have adjustment for your rotor speed. First gear was 2 to 600. A lot of guys will run them in first gear, even with beans. It'll go up to 580, but if you need to go above and beyond that, you're going to have to switch it over to 2. 2 will also, I think, is around 300 to 1,000 RPM, somewhere in that vicinity. And this will be for your smaller grains, wheat, rye. If you do it, you'll have her switched over and running closer to 800. So you've got your shoe lights here, which are lights that go inside your shoe, flip them on, off. You've got your gull wing lights in case it's dark out or whatever. We can see if we're working on something. These are they flipped on. You got your chopper here, up, down. This is your chaffer. You got the lines up top. So the top one we're going through, that's your chaffer switch. So if something's not working in the cab, you can't adjust in the cab, you can always come back here and see what's going on and listen to make sure the motor works, or do we have an electrical problem? Are we not getting power back here? Lines on the bottom, that represents we're dealing with the sieve. Again, just an adjustment back here, just to make sure, it's kind of a check to make sure they work, or unless you're working out of the back, you can flat out close them down right here so you don't have to run back to the cab and crawl on your chaffer sieve. You got your main hydraulic filters here in the center. You got your charge filter here for your hydrostat charge pressure. They are 400 hours. Depending on which one you have, if you have a Pro Drive machine, you will not have this filter here. So keep that in mind depending on the machine you have. But these are 400 hour filters.